Hello, everybody.
Everybody except Mover.
Yeah, I feel like I should be saying hello, Mover. But last second he's having some technical difficulties. So, Doug, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
How was your week?
I'm on spring break, man. I've been taking
What?
it easy.
Oh, that's right, man. You're an educator, so you're like 9 months off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying, Mover's having some technical difficulties, so he'll be back. He'll be up with us here in a minute. I think he's rebooting his system, which I don't know what that means, Doug.
I don't have any comms from him. Do you?
I've been talking with him on Facebook on Facebook Messenger, but he it's so bittersweet, man. I mean, I know it's been a while. We're what 37 episodes in, and I think I had the computer issues for maybe like the first five or so, and they were pretty heinous. And lo and behold, now it's Mover's turn. So hopefully all my shit talking is not gonna get
Gonky.
Hey,
you know the live show doesn't need to start right at 7, right? Like,
listen,
it's not that. It's you could have waited.
On time, on target is how I was brought up.
We could have given it a second. We could have waited.
Tell that to the boots on the ground.
Hack is when.
I'm just trying.
Yeah, look, in the Viper community, on time is your time.
Start.
And you're not looking at me. If you're wondering if you're looking at me,
I'm not. No, I'm still fixing settings because you started without me,
dude. It was. Look, I always strive to be on time, my friend, and we were a little late. So, besides, I got to preload everybody with all your alibis. So,
appreciate you for that.
We used to call it in the fighter world an excuse matrix. Every fighter pilot has a huge one.
I don't. Since I did this big TV thing, I don't know. It's not excuse matrix. It's just a question. Are we even live? Did you even do this right? Okay. Are people actually even watching this?
No switchology errors either in my community, Mover. On time, no switchology errors.
We may have had one or two minor switchology errors.
Wow, come on, Doug. Don't tell me.
Nobody saw it.
What are you, my Wizzo? Come on, dude.
I'm the voice of your conscience.
I don't understand. I just don't get it. Ever since we...
Is the Cray supercomputer?
I wonder if it's.
You're working.
I give up. You know what? I give up. This is.
Dude, you're working fine. You're in focus. I'm not sure who you're looking at right now.
I'm working.
No zip ties on the boom mic.
It's when I left the zip ties that was happening. See, now I'm looking at you.
Yeah, sort of.
Okay,
I'll take it at this point.
You're not looking directly at me.
I am now.
No.
I don't know why. We're 4 minutes in and we've missed you, Mover.
Are we really 4 minutes in? Well, whose fault is that, Gonky? It's a good thing we have an editor. That's all I'm saying. It's a good thing we have an editor.
Yeah, and Doug to help.
Well, you know what it is, Gonky? It's probably because of the breaking news.
The
Boeing whistleblower.
What happened to him?
He was found dead after giving a deposition.
That's strange. You're in law enforcement. Does that strike you as suspicious?
It does.
Yeah. I think he shot himself, right? That's what
it says.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, anytime you shoot yourself in the back of the head, that's a bad day. So
I don't know that he shot himself in the back of the head, though, Gonky.
Okay.
So
obviously with that whole debacle, there's a lot of money and stuff on the line. So I'm not.
Dude, that's like stuff out of a Michael Crichton or a John Grisham novel. If that's really true, like if he really Arkansided.
Well,
versus.
Yes. Was the meeting in Arkansas where he was the...
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, well, there's been
all my stuff's getting hacked here because they knew we were going to come out with this breaking news, and they had to silence me.
Well, he's not. There's been a couple. There's been a couple guys. I can't remember the name of the last guy, but he was involved directly with the Max, and he straight up said that Boeing should just stop building that plane. So I mean, there's been more than one.
Was it this guy?
No,
he was talking about oxygen systems.
Right. Well, unfortunately, they couldn't. When the investigators asked him, like, hey, who, the paperwork, the details for who installed that plug in that 7.3, like Boeing, they couldn't find it. So they're getting worked right now, and it seems like all publicity is bad publicity for them, which is unfortunate. Yeah. And there's there's gonna be more to come, unfortunately. But yeah, this guy, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends, because obviously, whether he really did kill himself or he fell on some bullets or something, it's bad either way.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then obviously we don't want to make light of taking your own life, because obviously it's never the right answer.
No
permanent solution to a temporary problem. We talk about mental health. Gonky, what is the mental health minute? Did you guys figure it out while I was gone?
I was just Doug had a great idea of soliciting the soliciting the audience. Look, man, I was responsible for getting the mission to push on time.
There's what for what? For what? This is a recorded podcast, sir. It's what?
All that car. That's funny.
Try to do something nice. I don't know what it is, dude. I honestly, I'm out of ideas.
You know why I did it, dude? Because a lot of times when you just push the go button, just let things happen, and just let it roll, and you get what you get.
Yeah. Okay.
When are you ever ready for the big mission? Never.
You just want to do this by yourself, is what this is. You're trying. You know what? We're 37 episodes, and now you're like, you know what? I've got it. I don't need River anymore. I'm just gonna keep on keeping on.
I definitely don't got it.
And Midnightly says all that crap Mover gave Gonky about his analog ways come back to bite him in the butt. This is from going too digital. I have created too complicated of a setup. I'm convinced that's what this is. All right. So here's the setups, because the geeky among us, Gonky, you can just cover your ears because you're not going to understand any of this. So recently, right, I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a professional setup, and I'm going to look straight at the camera when I talk now, and it's going to be great. So I got a new motherboard because I had some Amex points that I was burning a hole in my pocket. Motherboard and processor. So now I've got a 14900K and a 4090. So I'm like cooking. So I was like, I'm going to add this because I had bought a 50-inch LED TV like in 2019 when they were on sale for like $200, So, but it had been in the box, the container since then. Well, finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put a TV stand on Amazon, off Amazon. Well, the problem with the Pimax is you cannot run 3 monitors off of it. But the new motherboard has its own HDMI thing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to plug this in, and then I'm going to move Gonky over to the big screen. So it's going to look like I'm talking to him when I do that. And it has been nothing but trouble ever since.
Yeah,
it's been nothing but trouble. So week 1, it was when I tried the NVIDIA look at the eyes thing. Remember we did that?
Sure did.
Gonky didn't like that.
No,
it just looked like weird.
It's weird. Doug didn't like it either, man. It's not just me.
And then I thought then we were having trouble where Chrome was running out of memory. And I thought that was like a hardware acceleration thing. And then right before the show, for the first time, see, it's a new problem every time. For the first time, the whole thing locked up. It just said, you know what, froze. And I was like playing on my phone, like, okay, it's about to be 2 minutes prior. And I look up and the screen's frozen. And it still says, 6:57. And I'm like, uh-oh. So,
this discussion sounds like a 5th gen guy whining to a 4th gen guy. You know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't understand. You would not understand, peasant. Gonky shacked the TOT. You guys need to publicly tell us that you are happy and don't want to harm yourself, for the record.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
I'm not. Happy.
I couldn't be happier.
But I'm not like, I mean, happy's relative.
Put Mover on the watch.
Margot Robbie's not here. I mean, there are ways to be happier, but am I a danger to myself? No. So just so you know, I'm not a danger.
I'm not.
Pete says, is that a Mustang? Mental health minute, punctuality. Yeah. Did you know that our Mustang driver is no longer a Mustang driver? He's sick, by the way. I hope he feels better. He had a birthday yesterday.
Yeah, it was Wombat's birthday. We tried to get him on the show. Yeah, but he was
under the weather.
He is under the weather, so no Wombat today.
But he has no Mustang anymore.
He's gone full.
He's embraced the airline pilot lifestyle. He's got a Porsche.
I kind of think you bullied him a little bit, Mover. You refused to call it a Shelby, and you refused to call it
on this channel, Gonky.
Not me.
Who is the bully? Who has been bullying me? The clock says 11:35. We've been on here. I've only been on here for about 6 to 9 minutes, and you bullied me the whole time.
Dude, listen. You said it. You said it. TOT. I execute. I don't know what the problem is here.
Okay, listen. Talk about your topic, dude. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Bully this guy. Bully this Marine for saying he was an ace.
Harrier ace or not, the Marine fighter ace who wasn't. So what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I can't remember. We talked about Captain Earl downing 7 Houthi drones, which, knowing a tiny bit about the Harrier, is quite a pretty awesome accomplishment when you read that article. It was by the BBC. And I remember at the time, like, all right, I want to read a couple of these articles, see if I can get the most facts as I can. And the BBC was the only news outlet that was reporting it. And so this came out in Forbes that basically it wasn't true. So Forbes wanted to get more details. So he emailed the captain there. I can't remember the guy who wrote this article. I think his first name is Eric, whatever. He emailed the captain directly. PA responded with, no, really, no Harriers have shot down anything out here. So they tried to explain it. The BBC tried to explain it as, sorry, didn't mean that. No disrespect, BBC. Yeah, there he is. Captain Earl. Yeah. So the BBC tried to explain it as well. We misunderstood some things and yada, yada, but it's pretty far-fetched if you read the original article compared to what they're trying to say now. And I come full circle back to, I have a problem with trust in the media. Journalism today is a little bit lacking. And like Mover and I were talking about this before, like, we're not a news podcast.
No, we don't do news here.
No. Imagine a couple fighter pilots at the end of the day in a ready room or the squadron bar, just
irreverent commentary.
Yeah, we're just talking
about. Is that the word, Douglas? Is that does those words make sense?
That's a good word.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, I don't even know what it means, but it probably means something not important. But yeah,
but irrefutable.
There you go.
It's pretty refutable. Most of what we say is easily refuted in the comments.
Well, for example, like we reported on, well, we didn't report. We don't report here. We talked about the Harrier, right? Getting some air-to-air kills, right? Is he an ace or not?
He didn't even get one.
They got
0.
They got big fat 0. That's right. So, you really have to be careful what you read. So, if you read something online, don't get too excited or spun up about it. The same, I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy type, but I take everything. Well, I take everything with a grain of salt based on the last couple of years. Some weird things have happened. So,
I don't know what you're talking about. Go on.
I know. The thing. So, so apparently there is no Marine Corps Harrier fighter ace, unfortunately, because I think that story would have been just awesome. And that's Mover, that brings up another thing. Never let a couple of facts get in the way of a good sea story.
10% true, dude. It's all it's got to be. It's got to be. The problem was there was 0% truth. Like if he'd gotten 1 and they'd have been like 7, I'd have been like, that's more than 10% true, right? Yeah. If he'd gotten 1, but poor guy.
Yeah,
he's not living that down. Like they named him.
Oh,
that's my name.
He can't go He might be able to stay in his little squadron, but dude, when he goes anywhere else, it's like he's probably got a patch. Did not shoot down Houthi drones.
Yeah, like fighter weapons school non-graduate.
Not in the instead
not
of the
a Top Gun not a Top Gun pilot.
That's right. Instead of the Pipper on the MiG-21, the Pipper is off of a Houthi drone.
Dude, make that patch. That's $1 million idea. Or at least a couple hundred.
If we could get him to sign it, it might be. That would be awesome.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, so that's the Houthi drone thing, man. I mean, what do you think, Mover? Am I right about kind of like questioning the media? And
once again, I am in good health and I love my life.
Me too.
So, the views are our own and do not represent the DoD 100%. Or our employers. Or who else?
You'll get a new call sign out of it.
Why? Unless he's the one that did it. I mean,
that's not how it works.
It's not really his fault, you know.
You bring up a good point, though. I wonder. Well, he was probably the poor guy that just got when the BBC came aboard. They were like, "Hey, you go talk to this BBC reporter."
What if it's just what if somebody else is the one that told him, like, "Hey, it's Earl. Earl over there got 7 kills," and they're like, "Yeah,
7 kills.
Spell it, Earl." Aren't like Dale aren't no Earhart. No, okay. Do it for Dale.
Yeah. No, man, I that's a good question. I don't know. No, so when I was on the carrier, we had Al Jazeera come out. And and it was me and my buddy BDM. They're like, okay, they're gonna bring camera crew out. It's gonna be you two knuckleheads. They're gonna film you guys like putting on your gear and they're gonna interview you. And I feel kind of bad now because at the time I was a lot younger and less respectful.
Okay. You?
Yeah.
Did you bully somebody, Gonky?
No, but the poor girl was asking me questions and I was giving her like 10% answers and she was but no, they did their thing, man. They filmed us. They went next door to our sister squadron. And what's funny is they didn't use any of me and BDM's interview because
I would like to find this.
We were slightly not helpful, but they did use us getting suited up, and then they used our sister squadrons for words.
Do you have that footage?
Dude, it's probably out there somewhere. Al Jazeera 2006, something like that. John C. sent us. No idea, man.
Awesome.
If somebody could find it, that'd be awesome.
The internet is forever. All right. Yeah. Well, good talk.
That's that.
Moving on. Before we get to that, Doug, I see you have it queued up because I'm a little afraid to share a screen right now because I'm afraid it's just going to crash this entire. Like I'm hanging on by a thread right now. Renee says, "We still love you, Mover." Thank you, Renee. You're the one. Griff says, "Really enjoyed today's Mover Ruins Movies episode. Good to see you back in the saddle, so to speak." Yeah, doing some Mover Ruins movies again. Got a little bit more free time now because of we have an editor.
Yeah, we've outsourced.
That's working out. Yeah, it's given old Mover because I was doing all the work.
Come on, dude. I pushed us on time today. I hate to keep bringing that up, but
yeah, to the detriment of the mission. To the detriment of the mission. Speaking of detrimental to the mission, the F-15s in Jacksonville startled many, shattered some windows, broke glass, and people to touch grass.
They sure
forced
did.
People to touch grass after breaking glass.
Yeah.
With our breaking news. Why is it not? Here we go. So
are you gonna play it?
Yeah, we're gonna listen to them in a second. I'll read the thing. F-15 shattered homeowners' windows while training in Florida during recent low altitude training exercise. Many residents across several towns reported various other property damage. Residents in Putnam County called the sheriff. Why? Like what? Anyway, it was on March 2nd, 2024. Unhappy with that their homes were damaged and wanting to know what the heck was going on. It destroyed my friggin' house. Doug, can we listen to the 911, the 911 times 1,000 calls? Is it gonna play?
I can't hear it.
I don't hear it either.
Sleeping.
Douglas?
It's really
Can you hear it now?
Nope.
nope. Can you?
Did you share the screen audio perchance?
Hang on.
Hey, it's not me this time.
Ah, everybody
now?
has their
How
everybody
about
has
now?
their turn.
Nope.
Oh no! Because
You
it's
had to-
Too bad.
Did you do share screen audio when you clicked on the old share screen?
I did. I can.
It's fantastic.
Let me try a different way. How about now?
You get a real.
There we go.
Well, this one they dropped behind my house. I don't.
I'm going to start it over because we missed some good stuff.
Huntington Shortcut Road, Crescent City. I don't know what the hell that plane just dropped, but it dropped a bomb behind my house and it blew up.
Okay.
It's
All right.
crazy.
Okay. So you actually saw a plane drop something?
No, I was in there watching TV and I heard the plane there. They come by just about every day, you know, dropping bombs over in the national forest. Well, this one they dropped behind my house. I don't see no flames at this point, but it was so close, it moved my trailer. I mean, the whole trailer shook.
Okay.
So they dropped a bomb or a plane crashed or something. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's
Okay.
crazy.
Can I get your name? Okay.
Huntington Shortcut Road.
Can I get your phone number, Mr.
Oh, there.
Okay.
My God.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I about had a heart attack. I'm telling you, it shook my whole house and dust was flying in the house. It was crazy. It's like, I thought they done got me. I just knew it was gone. It's
Okay.
close. So I hope there ain't nobody messed up behind me. I mean,
Okay.
you know,
All right.
that's crazy.
We've got multiple calls on it. We got people on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I would love to
Putnam
be that
County now.
responding deputy.
This is Barbara Pitt, or she's Lake Avenue in Crescent City. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, something just exploded. I don't know if it was somebody's propane tank, but yeah, there's a
Bobby.
nasty smell.
Propane petrochemicals, Bobby.
I literally thought something hit a bomb
Dang
in
it.
the house. I mean, the whole house just vibrated. I mean,
So you're saying
horrifically. And
okay, yes, ma'am. You said you can smell gas now?
something smells wrong. It's
Smells
a
like
gas
freedom.
smell, but
That's what that smell
it's
is.
not a gas
That's
smell.
right.
I don't know how
JP8
to
and
explain it,
freedom.
but you just know it's not the right kind of smell. And
Okay.
it,
What
just,
is-
it literally
What is your address?
Lake Avenue.
And what was your name?
This is I'm a guest here, and we're all looking to see if, maybe a neighbor's house blew up or something. But it was
Whoever made this
definitely
video's got the wrong
Okay,
eagle up
but
there.
explosion.
What's
There
your
we
phone
go.
number?
Fixed it.
All right. Well, we got law enforcement and the fire department out there to go check everything out and see what's going on.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Putnam County Sheriff's Office line is recorded.
Yes, ma'am. Have you got any calls about what just happened here in Pomona Park?
Yeah, we were getting multiple calls. We got them on the way. Did you hear like a loud explosion sound?
Yes, it's destroyed my friggin' house.
Okay. What's your
It has
address?
destroyed my house. County Road 308B. It literally has knocked everything off my walls.
Okay. Do you see anything?
No, ma'am,
Wow.
I went outside and I can't see nothing, but I am literally like tripping right now because it has literally, when it comes, I'm thinking it could have been the planes that did it, but I don't know. But
It's
it
the
literally knocked
aliens.
everything off my walls. It has destroyed the inside of my house.
Okay. All right. We've got them on the way. What's your name, ma'am?
Okay, that's we've seen enough. Gonky, have you ever? All right. First off, before we continue laughing, I will say that they're the heart of America. Probably
My
very
people.
good people, and they're good people that cared enough about. They thought maybe they heard a plane crash or something bad had happened, and they're calling to try to get help. We understand that. It's still hilarious. It's not funny that they lost their windows and
No.
their little figurines fell off the TV or whatever.
The bobbleheads.
All the Dale Earnhardts fell
All
off. Sorry.
Oh, geez.
Their Dales and their Daryls and their Casey Canes and their Jeff Gordon. No, they ain't Jeff Gordon people. I'll tell you that right now. So where can you go supersonic, right? Because that's what this is. 15
Not
miles.
over the panhandle, apparently.
Yeah, over the water within 15 miles of shoreline or in designated areas. So sonic boom is created by going supersonic. Mach 1. And there are places you can't do it over land. One of them. There's actually a place out in Whiskey 174. What is it? Fort. What is it? Fort.
Wait, out over the water? Pretty much anywhere over the water you can go supersonic.
Nope. At 174 you couldn't within 15 miles because that's where the turtles were.
Oh, yeah. The dry tortugas.
Yeah, but what was that? What was that island? They had an island where the tourists would go. Was because we'd always use that as like a because you put the Beano around the 15 miler.
That's the island right there.
There you go. Everybody's got a picture of that.
That's the island.
Because it would mess up the turtles. The turtle mating doesn't like the supersonics. So
I can't remember, dude. That's how you can tell you're getting old.
Anyway, so bad things. Obviously, probably not intentional. I don't know if they were practicing like an alert scramble because remember Jacksonville F-15s for now. They're going to get Fat Amy, so it'll be a little bit more difficult to do this when Fat Amy rolls into town. But they've got the old Eagle jet and might have been practicing some alert scrambles. Might have just been doing I don't know. It does happen sometimes that you accidentally go supersonic. I've done it a couple times. Have you done it, Gonky? Allegedly, I've done it. I have not. For legal reasons, this is a joke.
Yeah, no, actually, I've never unintentionally busted the number where I shouldn't have. But it
must be nice.
I take that back. I did go supersonic on a 9K set when I was new. I was in Owens Valley, which you cannot go supersonic there, but nobody called because it's out in the middle of nowhere.
So that actually reminded me of a third time I've accidentally gone supersonic because I did it the very first time. Again, for legal reasons, this is a joke, and I'll deny it. deny, counter accuse.
That's right.
The first time was in pilot training where they're like, don't do continuous aileron rolls. So what do? Continuous aileron rolls going downhill and end up supersonic. That's one. One was in the Hornet because if you were in mill power, and I didn't know this, if you were just at mill power trying to get somewhere at 25,000 feet, that dude would super cruise.
It'll go supersonic. Yeah.
Did that accidentally, allegedly. And then the other time that you just made me think of was the time I pulled 9.8 Gs because it was over Avon Park. You're not supposed to do that over Avon Park.
Oh, yeah. So you were at the Makos down south.
I was allegedly. Some squatter down there.
Yeah.
Some squatter down there. Because we had just gotten back from combat operations and my internal clock was used to having 500-pound bombs and tanks and targeting pod. And I was in a slick Viper because we did BFM completely clean. No centerline bag, no nothing. And when we did the check away, I was slow. I was like at 290 or whatever. And so I was like, well, I'll just leave it in blower. When I turn in, I'll be up at that, fighting speed. And I hit the merge at like 1.2. And I pulled, I'm like, I'm gonna go one circle because I'm slow.
Dude.
Internal clock says I'm slow. Didn't even look at the airspeed. And dude, I knew it was bad when I'm like, whoa, this thing's pulling a lot of G's. And he immediately saddled up, gunned me, and I'm like, trying to stay awake, sir.
See, these are things you like.
Stupid
that couldn't happen
story.
to you. Well, that couldn't happen to you in DCS because you know what I'm saying. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Is like when I was supersonic on my 9K set. As soon as I started pulling, I realized my error. Like, did you realize you were going significantly too fast when you first started pulling?
As soon as it hurt a lot. Well, the thing is, you're always pulling 9 Gs, so it's got a limiter. It just overshot it to 9.8. You know, it's
but
not.
You were arcing like a big dog, right?
Oh, I was getting my ass handed to me. Like it wasn't even like he was doing a 9K set on me and we merged high aspect. You know, it was pretty much just a whoop, whoop. You know, he's saddled up and gunning me because I've made such an egregious error.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it happens, man. It's every once in a while. We would there at the Rag in Lemoore, when especially I was there when they first opened the Lemoore MOA, so we would do missions right overhead the field, but you know, Hanford's down there in Lemoore, and you know, I remember the first time, you know, student Super Hornet, man, he goes into the notch and just zoom and boom. You know, it's like maybe we shouldn't be doing air to air right over Hanford and Lemoore.
I mean, depending on what altitude you're at, you know, when you're unloading to get speed, you know, cold day, whatever,
it happens.
hot rod engine, it's a little tuned, you know, it's
but you know, with so with these guys, I wonder if it was more than one jet, because
it's probably him and his wingman.
Yeah. Because it sounds like, you know, we're kind of poking fun at these 911 calls because they're not, you know, non-standard calls to emergency services, which is what makes them funny. But it does sound like there was quite a bit of damage. And of course, sonic booms can do some damage, but
typically at the higher altitudes, they don't do a lot. Like 25,000 feet, it's not going to do a whole lot, but annoy you like a thump.
Right.
I mean, this had to be low altitude. And so let's flip the hat, right? So I do criminal patrol. We get a lot of weird calls for service. I am now putting myself in this deputy's shoes where this gets dispatched out. And you're like, so what now? Because you're just sitting there as the deputy going, I don't know how to handle that. You know, call the government, call the law. I am the law. Okay, call the government because I'm not writing that report.
No.
But, you know, because sometimes we get calls, sometimes they're BS, right? You get calls of gunshots, right? You'll go out there and they're like, I hear gunshots, but I don't know where it's coming from. But I know I hear gunshots. Well, it's either fireworks or they're hearing something else. And so, but when you get this number of calls all saying that, the first thing they're doing is they're looking to make sure there's no downed aircraft. You know, they're making sure that there's no missing military aircraft. Because remember what just happened a couple months ago? The Marines lost a F-35. We played those tapes where they're calling. We didn't play the tapes, but we talked about where the Marines are calling saying, hey, we lost a jet. Especially now, Putnam County, I don't know how far that is from Jacksonville or whether they're even aware. You know, because sometimes farther you are away, the more you're not even aware that there is a F-15 presence. So, I mean, that's a tough one. I wouldn't want to be that responder because more than likely, because there was damage, they did show up at somebody's house and they did have to take a report.
Right.
And so you're like, how do you even write this? You know, I mean, give it to the field training officer and their recruit.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't heard anything, but they might have been scrambled on a real world alert, you know? I mean,
yeah. Patrick says, did the Air Force answer or explain yet? Doug, was in that article, did it actually say at the bottom? Did I miss that?
I'll go take a look.
I don't think it did. I read
I don't remember reading any kind of.
Yeah.
In the past, when this has happened, they have taken responsibility. So yeah, it says the Florida National Guard Command has directed that an investigation take place, determine facts, implement any necessary measures. So they're not, I don't think they're basically saying that, but they do, they established a phone line for the residents affected should they choose to file a claim. And typically that's what happens.
Yeah.
They'll pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while we'd have a student, you know, like I was saying, boom, Hanford, Lemoore, and it was usually somebody call the cops, you know, then they almost always knew, you know, I mean, we're probably the biggest jet base on the West Coast. And then, you know, somebody would call the ready room and then we would just very quickly, you could lay out the timeline and you could figure out who, and then usually by then, whoever, you know, you'd see it in the debrief, right? So, I mean, I didn't even like when I went supersonic on my 9K set, I had no idea that I went supersonic until the debrief when the IP was watching my tapes and he you know, and he saw how fast I was going. But yeah, I mean, you know, the fighter pilot, I mean, mover, like like applauds these guys, good job, but you know, at the same time, you don't want to hurt people, damage property. So hopefully, you know, hopefully these guys don't get in too much trouble or any trouble at all. But you definitely don't want to be booming the residents in your Eagle jet.
Yeah. So Putnam County, Palatka,
Putnam County, Florida.
Yeah. So that is
pretty rural.
I'm gonna share the screen. If I go away, Gonky, you got it for here on out.
What are you sharing, sir?
I'm going to share a map.
That's a sectional, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is the airspace. Palatka, right there.
Oh, they were in a working area?
Well, dude, this is the MOA up here.
Yeah.
So this is all this region right here. It's probably the southern part right there. So whatever they were doing, because there's R2906 right there. So R2906 is probably what they were talking about, how sometimes they hear bombs and stuff, because that would be the restricted area. Right?
Did you ever go up there?
No. We went
pretty far north, but so there's a bombing range out there.
So this is Lake George. Yeah, see R2906?
Yeah, okay, yeah, there is.
We always went to Placid.
Yeah.
But so that's where they're at up here.
That's pretty rural. I mean, there's not a lot out there.
Right. And that's what the article says as well. So
yeah.
I just thought I would add that for that. But anyway, we've anchored way too long on this entertaining topic. We've got some. Renee says, still waiting for you to ruin Sully. I've been on Wombat's calendar for 6 months now.
He's sick, man. He can't even defend himself.
Can't get him on the thing. Bob says, I think I just heard your new co-host, Bubba's take from the trailer on Aviation News Comedy Gold.
That's funny.
MW says, I'm 43, wish more than anything I'd serve, but I was a screw up back when in the wrong crowd. What can I do now to support our military in the most effective way that won't be wasted? Any ideas?
I mean, there's all kinds of
veterans. Yeah.
Yeah. There's, you know, Wombat Wake for Warriors, Folds. I mean, there's all kinds of, you know, all kinds of
canines. We're doing that DCS tournament that's for the Canines for Heroes or canine something. Dogs.
Yeah. Thanks though, man.
Yeah. Plexi says came here for the fighter pilot story, stayed for the Florida redneck bullying. Damn it, Gonky.
We're not bullying. We're
damn it, Gonky.
We're just talking about it. Can't we talk about things anymore?
Nope.
And if we chuckle, we chuckle.
Would the pilots who did the sonic booms be chewed out by their commander?
Depends.
So chewed out is relative, right? It's more of a stern talking to with some paperwork involved. You know, angry. Like,
yeah,
I've been chewed out before. It's not that bad.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's not that bad at all.
It's not like Lee Army, right? I mean, usually, unless you get like a hothead.
You know what? I take that. It depends. So when I was in UPT on the Air Force side, I got chewed out a couple times, but that was part of the. I think that was part of the training experience.
The ambiance.
Yes,
it's the ambiance.
And then once I got my wings, it was more of a, like you said, Mover, a stern talking to.
Have you ever chewed anybody out as the instructor?
No, no.
Have you ever chewed anybody out in your life?
Well, my 5-year-old, but he deserves it. So other than that, no.
John says that would be an insane report. Selfishly, I could list the pilot as the vandalism suspect so I can see the tool used to commit the crime. Hey, get a ride.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, clever girl.
Yeah, John don't make the rules. He's just playing by them.
Yeah. Gonky, we're off the rails, sir. Speaking of usual. Bad things to good people or good things to bad people.
I don't know, man.
Bad things have happened to United. And dude,
I've lost count.
we're not going to talk about them individually because there's so many. I mean, today they had the 777 out of Sydney.
Yeah.
That turned back around, and there's pictures of the brake line that's missing, and then they're not missing, but maybe disconnected. Looks like it's spewing some hydraulic fluid, and then the firefighters like jiggling it. So,
yeah, I mean, there's footage of it when he took off, man. It's like streaming smoke, white smoke out the back. Is
this it, Doug? No, this is the wheel.
Sorry, that's the wheel.
Confused to which 777. All of them involve Boeing, and all of them involve United.
Nope. There's one. There's a A320 hide failure. So
I missed that one.
Yeah, they lost the hides on an Airbus. It has 3 hide systems though, so good to go. But it made an emergency landing. It was on its way to Mexico, and it turned back around. I can't remember the town of Mexico. It turned back around and landed in LA. But yeah, So I guess you can play this one. We'll watch the first one.
This is in PowerPoint mode, frame by frame.
Yes.
By frame. Enhance.
Yeah, I mean, we're laughing, but this one here's the scary one.
Dude, it took out a Tesla. Now, did the crew chief and tire changer get a 3-race suspension?
Man, I don't know.
Them's the rules, you know.
Yeah, this.
All right, United, bye-bye. 777.
See, that dude jinxed it. Don't ever say goodbye to the United because the wheel will fall off.
We missed it.
Douglas.
We missed it, but
at least it wasn't me.
Yeah, so was it the left side? There it is.
There it is.
Right there. Freeze frame. Yeah.
Perfect. We power pointed to the right slide.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that tire is doing like 200 miles an hour, and it's a big one because that's a big airplane. And so lucky no one on the ground was killed.
Somebody's getting a new Tesla and probably a new commuter car because it took out like 3 cars. Because that thing is. I mean, you've ever stood by one?
Yeah. I mean,
they're massive.
They're like 8 feet tall, aren't they, or something like that? I mean, they're huge.
Yeah, they're probably not small wheels.
Yeah, they're not light. I'm so, I don't know. Yeah. So the 777, they had the 73 Max go off the runway at Houston, right on the rollout.
Yeah, they took a turn very sharply. Wound up in the.
Yep, they wound up in the and I don't know. Some of the passengers have already spoken, and because there was to the gear collapse before or after it went off the runway, and a lot of the passengers are already like, "No, it was fine until we went off the runway, and then the gear collapsed." So there it is, sitting on its left wing. Thankfully, I mean, remarkably, nobody has been hurt or killed, which to me is, I mean, like
we would not be taking it this lightly.
No,
were there to be any serious injuries?
No, United very unlucky. United very lucky. All in the same couple of days, right?
And it goes back to the but for the grace of God go I, because so there's I don't know millions of worldwide departures and flights every single day, and you hear about them because, well, I mean, we're in a 24-hour news cycle. Actually, we're probably in more of a minute-to-minute news cycle now with Twitter and all that stuff. And with Boeing's issues, everything is highlighted because everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon of air travel is suddenly unsafe. But the reality is none of these people had serious injury. Now, there was a LATAM flight today or yesterday in a 787 where 50 people got injured, and they don't really say what happened. But the thing is, it's remarkable because you look at, so let's tally them up, right? We've got 2 777s with United, the Airbus, Boeing Max that we just showed. There was the Boeing Max with the rudder.
75.
rudder issue, the 7.5 with the was the slat that the
No, the
come
engine
apart?
failed. The engine failed.
Okay, 7.5
So-
that the engine failed, but didn't we cover a slat too?
Yeah, that was
that
last
United?
week. Yeah, that was United.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and then didn't they have the engine stalls on the 7.3, the fire at
yes,
night?
they had that with the bubble wrap got into the intake.
That's right. It was flawed. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're just not having that great of a month.
Yeah, there's a
year.
lot of great Americans people, I should say, that work at United, but it couldn't have happened to a better company, in my opinion. I am not a United fan at all for how they treated their people during the past couple of years. I know on the pilot side, they all had to take leave with no pay. So, karma, man. You make fun of me about technology and look what happens, mover. You crap on your people during flu season. Look what happens. I digress. I just wanted to say that because that's what I would say if we were in a ready room. Suck it, United.
Tomcats.
That's right. Box 3, baby. Mad dog it.
Yeah. Well, hey, it was a good run, Gonky. We made it.
I don't work for
37
United,
episodes
so I
before
don't.
No, yeah. I don't have anything else to say about that.
The thing is, like the 777, probably arguably the greatest, safest twin engine jet ever made. So these are all just maintenance. A lot of this stuff is just
I read something about their phase maintenance of where they're sending their heavy maintenance to. A lot of the outsourcing, a lot of stuff to other places.
United's leading the charge. Continue.
I don't know when you put the spaghetti, the Swiss cheese model, not the spaghetti models. That's for summertime. When you put the Swiss cheese models together, I don't know if you can link, like, what's other than the fact that they're all happening to Boeing jets for the most part and United. What is the common? Because
dude, where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Well, but I agree with you that there's a corporate culture problem there, but I still think at the ground level, the mechanics and pilots are professionals.
Yeah.
So I have trouble believing that it's a symptom of the larger corporate problems, right? It could be, but to me, that the guy and gal that's turning the wrenches, they're doing the best that they can. So it's hard for me to connect those dots, knowing mechanics, knowing pilots and stuff, because even though, we joke about, corporate culture and some of their initiatives and stuff we don't agree with, but at the end of the day, the people that are actually doing the job make it happen.
No, that's why I was saying, man, like, there's they're all great people, professionals that work for United, but it's whatever culture that they're in, especially I think maybe on the maintenance side, whatever system that they're using is not working. This is just 2 in the same week. All right. But I mean, it's almost the joke now is like we're running out of fingers here. Many?
But it's the halos or horns, man. It's a trend, right? As soon as you get 1 or 2 things identified, then everything that happens, you're going to be, they're going to poke the finger at you.
Yeah.
They're going to go. So once you've established a trend, everybody's going to be looking like they're under a microscope now. Anything that any early return, anything, and which negates the fact that the pilots did a good job, except for one of them, maybe potentially. We don't know. I mean, that investigation hasn't been happened, but pilots did a good job, brought the aircraft safely home in all of these cases.
Yeah.
So good job to them. Good job to the first responders and the second responders who stood there and put the fires out. And
I mean, like I said, man, you can be, it's like the problems we talk about in the military all the time. You're all professionals, but you're handcuffed by the organization that you're in. You have to play by the rules of the organization you're in. So I think that there's probably an issue there that the the thing that concerns me is I just hope, and I'd be shocked if this isn't going on right now. There's some sort of internal like all stop or all, all hands.
No,
Like,
no,
you don't think so? Like, I mean,
No.
if I was the United CEO, I'd be like,
because you can't afford to stop. You got to
not
keep. You got.
not stop, but like, hey, everybody on the phone now. We got a meeting. What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
like who's not tightening these bolts?
Yeah. You know who they're having a meeting with? Their PR people, marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is they're having a meeting with marketing and stuff, and it's not just United. Alaska, after losing a door, was just in the news for a cargo door being open.
I saw that.
I mean,
that was also Boeing, wasn't it?
It was also a 737.
732. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's to me, it's just there's too many things in a short amount of time to just be, oh, that's a one-off. So hopefully they find the root cause and they can correct it, and then carry on with safe 121 operations. Because I mean, at the end of the day, man, we don't want anybody to get hurt, right? And they're super lucky, because if there's one more thing mover and someone gets hurt or God forbid dies, it ain't gonna be good for
the
United.
Industry. No,
Yeah,
it's not
for
going to
the
be
industry.
good for the industry. It's not going to be good for the industry, because they're really not. There's not a huge difference, right? They're all very similar, not because they have to for competition. So, going to the chat, MJ says 100% Gonky. Bob says outsourcing phase maintenance at potential cause makes sense to me in some cases, depending on who it's outsourced to. Yeah. All right, moving on. I think Gonky, is this yours? Doug, is it V-22's back in service? We doing that one next?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's quick, man.
Yep.
It's kind of a long article, but basically they put the V-22 back in, and then reading through this article, when I first heard that, I was like, they didn't make any changes to the airplane. So basically they increased their maintenance schedules on, I can't even pronounce the part number. It's called a prop I don't know, some gearbox item that failed, and they don't know how to fix it. So their fix is, we'll just inspect it more. The Navy Air boss, he made the distinction, which I think is good, of, hey, listen, just because we're clearing the Osprey back to flying doesn't mean it's back to mission. So that tells me there's going to be probably restriction. There it is. Hold on, stop, Doug. The prop pronator gearbox. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, prop rotor.
Yeah, because it's a prop rotor.
It's that Mid-Ohio education,
and then a prop.
Yeah, so that's the issue right there. So but yeah, so I don't know, man. They say NATOPS is written in blood, so I don't know a whole lot about the nuances of flying the V-22, but if you can, through procedures like operator, like pilots, pilot procedures and maintenance, keep this from happening again, that's great. But from reading this article and a couple other ones, there's a lot of people that are not convinced that that the problem is fixed, and it kind of reads a lot like, well, we've got too much in this thing, we got to get it flying again. So I don't know. What's your take?
It says the November crash may have involved chipping. Where it go up?
Yeah, it's from the gearbox failure.
Scroll. Doug, there you are. Tiny pieces of metalware. Oh no, we have overshot.
We must have a time delay, because I was sitting on that for quite a while.
Yeah, there is.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. So tiny pieces of metal wear off during use can damage the engine. He did not specify whether chipping played a role in the crash, but characterized as normal phenomenon for a mechanical system. They have the monitoring system and alerts the pilots if any is detected. I mean, that's a common thing in the rotor world, but
yeah, but it sounds like when this thing fails, it's like, the red flag pops up, you're screwed. I mean, I don't know. It's been a while, and I know that at least on the Navy side, it's been quite a problem because the C2s, which they were standing down, are working overtime, right? And so, I stood down the Legacy Hornet on the West Coast, and anytime you're standing down a particular airframe in a squadron, that manning is planned out, right?
And the training pipeline,
the training, the parts, the manning, everything is set to pare down on a schedule, right? And the money kind of stops. So like you're running the risk of issues with the C2, parts for the airplane, and then maintainers and pilots working overtime. So at least on the Navy side, as far as replenishing ships, getting parts out to small boys, carriers, whatever, it's in their best interest to get this thing going ASAP. But I don't know, man.
Well, you talk about the training pipeline on the C2 side. I'm talking about on the Osprey side, right? Because the schoolhouse they had to stand down all the qualifications. So if you're out of currency for this long, now everybody's got to get spun up. Everybody's got to get takeoff and landing qualified. Everybody's got to get instrument approach qualified. Like, you lose all your quals from a stand down, right? And then there's no pipeline because there's standing down too. So even it's not an immediate fix. Like, as soon as you say, hey, you're back on, you can go fly. Well, there's a spin up time. The instructors have to get current. And then now granted, they have sims, but I don't know how much in that world. Cause like in heavies, you can get landing currency in the sim. I don't know about the Osprey world, fighter world. No.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, the Osprey is actually statistically still, a safe aircraft. So, but it remains to be seen. Hopefully the problem is contained. Obviously it's not fixed. They didn't really fix anything, but hopefully they figured out a way to operate the aircraft without it, killing anybody else with this specific problem. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Garrett says, I have a buddy who's a V-22 pilot. He says they found all the problems, but don't know why it failed. He says they won't be flying for a bit of training.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
All right. Is that all you want to talk about on that one?
Yeah.
You've got a chat from DG. He says, VA secretary intervenes after top officer orders iconic end of World War II kiss photo removed from depicting a non-consensual kiss. Talk amongst yourselves.
What? Is it the one, the Navy guy? Is it the one with it?
It's a sailor.
What do you mean it's non-consensual?
Because they just won World War II.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like she was pushing the guy away. Right?
I don't know, dude. I
don't know.
But they rescinded this. This is not a thing anymore.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
So it happened, and then they put it back, and they said, "Just kidding." It's politics. They're baiting you into baiting you, Gonky.
Well played, DG.
Yeah, it's just baiting you, man. Mom, stop baiting.
I misread it, man.
Jeff says root cause greed, and that I don't know which topic he's talking about.
I think the V-20
Airlines.
Well, he might be talking United, or
yeah, he could be talking about just about anything right now.
Well, he's not wrong.
Abaddon says, "Good day from Adelaide, South Australia. Thanks for the awesome show. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
They're having old Bluey's mom." So Baddock Air A320 pilots have fallen asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Control
A320. Yeah. They fell asleep for I think it says 28 minutes. And then one of them woke up.
Indonesia. Yeah. So they were 153 people to veer off course before landing safely, added to the country's troubling aviation safety record.
Which, I mean, it happens, right? What was it? Maybe 15 years ago it's been now. The Northwest A320 guys fell asleep. I think they overflew Minneapolis by 100 miles or something.
I thought they were on their laptop. Well, that one wasn't asleep.
I thought they were sleeping, man. I don't know.
So,
all I'm going to say is that this is not, people are probably quick to jump on because it's Indonesia or whatever, but
so what happened? Gonky, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. It's since sometimes, you're stuck in your little Part 121 bubble. Foreign carriers have what's called controlled rest. You heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. So then that usually it's like a 45-minute nap, and the other pilot has to check in with the flight attendants. I think it's every 20 minutes. And if they don't, then the flight attendants, ding, ding, hey, you still up there? You still awake? And the 45 minutes is enough to give them that refreshing nap, but not give them sleep inertia. The U.S., for a U.S. airline pilot, domestic, this is foreign to us because the FAA is very like, you shall not sleep in the cockpit, even though it probably happens more than people would like to admit. In this case, which means people fall asleep inadvertently and nobody's telling each other. And then next thing you know, luckily this hasn't happened in the US. But in this case, the one resting pilot said, hey, I'm going to take a nap, control rest. And the other pilot also fell asleep. The thing was, it was kind of a fatigue incident because I think their sign-in was like 1 a.m. So they were kind of on the wrong side of the clock. Both really tired, both fatigued, probably shouldn't have been flying in the first place just based on that fatigue. And then they both fall asleep. And then finally they wake up and holy crap.
So I will say this. I think most of your Western countries do a good job with actually recognizing fatigue. So we had a 777 captain jump seat with us once, and he took like a 5-year leave of absence and he went and flew in Asia, not Indonesia, but in Asia. A320s. And he told us, he specifically said, yeah, fatigue call outs are not a thing in that part of the world. He said that one of his buddies called in fatigue for he's like a 15-hour day, something crazy, called in fatigued, and his next well, no, they didn't fire him, right? Because that would look bad, right? If he went like to the press or whatever. They waited till his next proficiency check and failed him on it, and then got rid of him.
Hell hath no fury like an airline scorned.
Yeah. So he's like, you don't call in fatigued and you try not to call in sick. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go.
And it, it's also worth noting on this case here, like one of the pilots, he had like a 1-year-old at home that's crying and screaming, and I can relate because I have one of those too. And I have had to call in fatigued once because my daughter was just not having it.
There you go. The joke from the audience is Boeing pilots can't sleep. All the things falling off. If it ain't Boeing, it ain't going.
Oh, dude.
If it ain't Boeing, I don't know.
I love Boeing, man.
Yeah, sure you do. Laura says 75th commercial flight baby was just born between Jordan and the UK. How many babies? I personally have never had a baby.
I've
had medical emergencies.
Have you had how many med emergencies have you had?
3 to 5.
Really?
Yeah, you get them a lot because I used to fly a lot of South America stuff, a lot of international.
Really?
Just these longer flights because people. One of them we were going from Colombia, and that was probably the closest we were to diverting because we were calling the sat phone, calling the doc and the doctor on demand and all that stuff, and trying to get consultation because back then, I don't know about now, I'll get the training soon. You relied on that doctor, right? You had to call the on-call doctor, and unless there was a doctor on board. And then you talk to them, and the flight attendants would relay. You play the game of telephone. You come up with a plan, run the checklist, and decide, hey, is this a medical emergency enough to divert, or do we need a medical assistance when we get there, or is it just something that'll resolve? For us, the first part looked like, hey, we might have to turn back around and early return. But luckily, that person, I think it was seizures, right? Because seizures are one of those things that can kind of go either way. It could be a symptom of something more severe, or it could just be they have seizures, to what level and length. And that's the thing, like they were timing them, we're calling in saying, here's how long the seizure was, here's what's going on, here's their current state. And then they make the call, whether to divert. Now, granted, a captain can override that, but you don't, you're taking that on your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
You can always be more conservative and divert, but you typically don't want to ignore. And they're never. I don't think I've ever heard of a situation where the company doctor's like, you can land right now, that person dies, and the captain's like, nope, I'm on a green slip, I got to get there. You know, my second family's waiting for me. We have to get there.
Yeah, I think I've probably had two. We ended up not having to do anything. One of them was, we carry a lot of, elderly people, and the lady passed out. Like, she had an oxygen tank and stuff, and we ended up just continuing on. And then the other one, man, was like right when we pulled off the gate, like getting ready to start the engines, and I just hear this lady just screaming. I mean, shrieking at the time. Me and the captain look at one another. It's like, what do? We don't have the engines running, dude. It's like, yeah, but they got her some help, and we're on our way.
All right. There's that one. Cluterus. Got a buddy that's an EasyJet pilot in the UK. Says it's like Grey's Anatomy with how much screwing around the staff does. Is this true for you? When we say screwing around, do you mean the intercourses?
Earmuffs, boys and girls.
Children. We're about to get age restricted. What do you think? You answer that.
Where I'm at, there we don't. I mean, we have fun, but there's really no screwing around. Just kind of how we fly. So, I don't know. I'm with Mover. There's various definitions to that word.
Grey's Anatomy, I think, is I
don't watch TV.
It's for the ladies.
Help me out.
So it probably means relationships.
Oh,
if I had to guess, I don't think it means like what we do on this channel.
Oh yeah,
I think they're meaning like earmuffs, kids.
No, so I mean, do we have some pilots who are married to flight attendants? Yes, but I would say all in all, not really.
Well, we do know some commanders that are on their second, third wives.
We did
with flight attendants. So, I mean,
I'm not saying
the
it doesn't
reason that
happen.
their marriages fall apart is because of said screwing around. So, is that true? Yes.
Do y'all have the same hotels?
Huh?
Do y'all? So one of the guys that goes to my gym. You do? Okay. So one of the guys that goes to my gym, he was an old A7 guy, and then he flew for like Northwest forever. And he said, flight attendants had their hotel, we had our hotel. No,
our association's weak, and we have the same hotels.
Okay.
So
supporting said screwing around.
Yeah, if you want to screw around with me, Ma, go right ahead.
With me, Ma. Is her name Bubbles? I'm just curious. Is Mima's name? Does she go by Bubbles too?
Renee says Minnesota pilots totally fell asleep. I don't think I think they were on their laptop, because I remember.
I think they tried to say they were like troubleshooting something on their iPad.
Well, somebody said that they were bidding. I don't know. Garrett says, how do you guys keep yourself awake on long flights in the jet? Adrenaline? No, you set the bingo bug to wake you up. And then, no, just kidding. Again, legal reasons. This is a joke.
Yeah.
Definitely not adrenaline. Dude, the only time you get adrenaline is if you're on fire.
Well, in military, yeah, that's true. In military jet, I think we've talked about it before. They literally, there's a program to prescribe you drugs. So uppers and downers.
Oh, yeah. The go, no go. The go pills and the no go pills.
It's a pretty tightly controlled program. And the doc comes in, briefs everybody, and then you decide whether you want to be in the program or not. Having a slightly addictive tendency, I was like, I better not mess with these.
I didn't know. I did not do well with either of them.
Did you try them?
You had to ground test them in the Air Force. So
I think you had to
take them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you had to also in the Navy. But Garrett, I'm old school, man. I would
Rippets. I'd bring Rippets, dude.
I would just have some angry songs going through my head, and all I needed was to focus for like 12 minutes to get it aboard the ship, and we were good. And after that, it didn't matter.
Masick says, your voices are very calming. Do you train or practice having a calm tone of voice? Smooth jazz.
I find that having a calm voice helps me keep my domestic life happier. So I really work on it all the time because if I yell at my wife, bad things happen.
Here's how I practice, Gonky. The exact opposite. I have no one in my house. So the only person I ever talk to is Luna. Everything else is text. I angry text and calm
You
speak.
do.
Yeah.
You
Everything.
do
It's an angry text, calm speak.
Yeah. I don't. Do I angry? Do I angry text?
Well, you text in all caps like a boomer. So
That means I'm yelling.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to tell you that. Bob says, sounds like LA to Vegas. Great show. That was a good show. Jim Norton's alcoholism. They're not getting married for their fun, Gonky.
What? That's funny.
Kate says, what level of EMS training do commercial pilots and crew have? Pilots?
None.
Zero.
Yeah, zero. Actually.
Did we get any training? You gotta punch Bob. You got to do the hand-to-hand combat, and then you got the flex cuff training, the security stuff,
and we were trained on the defibrillator, right?
The AED.
Yeah,
we get AED. We got fire extinguisher training, pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. We got because you had to go put out a real fire. It's the only place I've ever been trained on a fire extinguisher and actually had to put, well, except for the Navy where they actually did ship firefighting at 204.
Did you actually go?
Yeah.
Did you man the hose, so to speak?
Yes. I became a second responder for a day. I had to leave my house at like 3 o'clock in the morning to get there too, because it was summertime. So the wet bulb globe or whatever, we couldn't put out a fire after 8 a.m.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we don't get a whole lot of.
I'm a certified firefighter in the Navy.
Everybody is on the ship, my friend.
Well, one more qualification I have.
Since the Zuni rocket about sunk the.
JP says, evening, guys. Great show, like always. Debatable. But debatable. I like your enthusiasm.
Thanks, JP.
Can't wait for these comments. Hope everyone has a good week. And John says, mover Leo question. Have you had anyone fall asleep in their patrol car or not respond to dispatch trying to find them with an alert tone when they still don't wake up? First part, yes. I've seen people fall asleep, but never the alert tone. I mean, I've heard the alert tone, but usually it's because they're just not paying attention to the radio. It's a little tone, like they tone out something. But I've never had the still don't wake up to where we actually had to go. Usually either they tone it out, somebody calls them on their phone, and eventually people will respond. But I don't know about the sleep thing. Hammerby says, regarding staying awake, there should be enough CPU power in modern fighter jets for you to have Tetris or Pac-Man running on one of those screens. Yep. All right, dude, we're behind. Let's get back on track. Sad news out of the Israeli-Gaza conflict. 5 were killed in airdrops of all things. Yeah, I mean, man. You're trying to. That's just incredible.
You're trying to help out, and they, where we're at now. I actually got to take a look at some of these pallets that are thrown out of the back of these C-130s and C-17s, and I mean they're massive.
Can you show the video, Doug? Can you scroll down and show that? Yeah,
here it is.
So it looks like you got just a streamer, and then one pallet hit the other pallet, and then they just kind of the worst possible thing. We're not doing well with technology today. I'll tell you that much right now.
Must be that storm.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
And then 5 people were killed or more. I don't know if that's more or less, but thanks, Doug. We'll just talk about it from here. But to clarify, though, that was not U.S.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't.
It was not U.S. C-130s or C-17s.
C-17s, yeah.
UAE, I think, or another country. Which that's not to say that it could have happened to the U.S. I mean, mistakes happen. Mishaps happen.
Right.
It's a very unfortunate thing in a very critical part of the world right now, where you've got, the civilians, which you always feel for, no matter what the conflict, the innocent women and children that are non-combatants that are stuck, you feel for. But then you kind of wonder if it's going to be like the whole Mogadishu thing, where the warlords or the militants are then stealing it, rationing it out, using it as leverage for other stuff. I mean, anything gets misused in a conflict. What do you think?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, we're talking about non-combatants, right? So just, I don't know, people caught in the, people just trying to survive, man. And like, it's really, this is a humanitarian effort gone wrong, right? They're trying to help, and it's unfortunate, but stuff like this happens. And I mean, if you're going to throw things out of airplanes, there is some inherent risk involved. And it's sad, I feel for for everybody involved, but I mean, imagine, man, being the crew, the C-17 guys or the C-130 guys who.
Well, and that's so a comment from the audience. Farmer Starter says, my brother's a C-17 loadmaster. Apparently they used high velocity chutes instead of the slower ones. So, I mean, that's speculation at this point, I mean, we don't know. I think you're right, Gonky. Does it matter why?
No.
The idea when you're throwing aid out the back of a transport aircraft, you want the aid to get to the right people and aid them.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, even if they did make the mistake, I for sure guarantee you the people who were packing those chutes weren't like, let's use these today, because we know they're not going to work. That's not, that's not reality. It's just sad, but hey, the learn from it. Hopefully, I hope they're able to determine what happened so they can prevent it from happening again. That's the best you can do.
Now they're talking about building from the U.S. like a floating port out there.
Floating port,
ship in supplies. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I don't know how. What kind of floating port? Like a hovercraft, like a UFO. I don't.
Floating in the water.
Oh, we're talking C-17. We're talking C-17. Oh, okay. Like, wait a minute.
Like they're going to build a little water thing out there with your aquatic brothers, and they're going to make some kind of platform, if you will, that the pirates are probably going to attack.
Yeah, put guns on it. That'll stop them.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
anyway,
sad though. No bueno.
Sad. Not good. All right, moving on to our next topic. 5 companies are competing for the Pentagon AI contract, and one of them might surprise you. And hit the button. So the Pentagon is looking for AI-guided planes with tactical early warning during a $6 billion overhaul program. And Gonky, why is Mover and Gonky Technologies LLC not getting some of the $6 billion? Have we figured that out yet? Because it seems.
Yeah, I think we're definitely behind on this.
Yeah. So basically it says they're looking for new artificial intelligence guided planes, offering 2 contracts for the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Project, part of a $6 billion program that will have at least 1,000 drones to the Air Force, deploy alongside the human piloted jets and provide cover for them, acting as escorts with full weapons capabilities, could also act as scouts for communications. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Atomics, and Endural Industries have all taken up the challenge, not Gonky Industries, unfortunately. General Atomics supplied the Reaper and Predator drones, and they has deployed numerous occasions in the Middle East. And then Palmer Luckey, who founded Oculus VR. Boeing is the only company that has shown off its entrant, the Ghost Bat. It's between 20 and 30 feet long, is able to fly just below the speed of sound, travel more than 2,000 nautical miles. That is an incredible range. So basically, AI being the way of the future. Thanks, Doug. Gonky, there was another article, and we might just wrap that into this one, because I kind of want to hear your thoughts about this. We've talked about a pilot shortage. We've talked about both production, retention, recruiting, like all levels of pilot shortage. Do you then replace pilots with your AI wingman, and then you try to build an AI force with a smaller Air Force?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Is this the solution to another problem?
It depends. I mean, could it work? on paper. Will it work? Who knows? Do they want to do it? Do they want to hit the press to test?
I think you've got moral issues with taking the human out of the kill chain, and that is the concern I have at any point of this, is because I like the loyal wingman idea, right? I like the scouting idea, because even the loyal wingman idea implies consent to kill, consent to release. It's doing a mission as an extension of a human. Where I draw the line is where we start to get to autonomy and autonomous killing, because then you're taking out the human in the loop. Now, the counter argument to that is, well, what is a missile, right? Fire and forget. You've consented, and it's going out and doing exactly what you asked it to do. But there's consent. It's when you have your loyal wingman, like at what level does it back up and you're no longer the one consenting, or how far does consent go? Is consent commander's intent, or is consent a real person in the cockpit that actually pulls the trigger and then allows it to go? Like, at what point are you causing that kill?
Yeah, I don't know. And I I would venture to say they probably don't, I don't think anybody knows at this point, because they're, that this technology is still in the future, kind of.
Yeah, but dude, it's technology that rolls quickly.
It does.
I mean, it starts going exponentially.
But some of this, sorry.
Well, I was going to say the ghost bat's already existing, and we only know what they're telling us. We don't know what's happening behind the vault, and we wouldn't talk about it anyway. But in the vault, what technologies are there?
Yeah.
And are these questions being answered?
Well, anytime a new technology is fielded, it's always, there is a little bit of learning on the fly. Like, I'm sure when the Raptor first came on the scene, the tactics they employed are vastly different than what they're doing now, because over time they learn what the airplane and the technology can do. That's one of the main jobs of, your weapons school guys, to do that. So, I don't know. That's probably one of those things that, as they start to operate like that, I mean, they're going to have to figure it out. I mean, it's a valid point, man. I don't know. What I'm worried about is the piece where AI becomes aware and they try to put a plug. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, there's a whole genre of fiction dedicated to just that concept. I mean, granted, in a perfect world, AI is a force multiplier. Right. When you have AI that can make split-second calculations for you, that can find, fix, target, track everything on the battlefield, that can go out and sacrifice itself so that we don't lose any humans. But the bigger thing is, if we downsize our force, like if we're going towards an AI wingman, we're losing a lot of that corporate knowledge, which we already have. We're already there, right? We're already at that point where we don't have a lot of pilots, or we don't have enough pilots, and we're getting a bigger shortage, and that shortage ripples, because, like it or not, military pilots feed the airlines, military pilots feed civilian jobs, and eventually they're going to say, well, once AI successfully flies in a cargo aircraft in the military, then they're going to start looking at it, which they already are, and they're going to say, okay, well, let's clean sheet design a cargo aircraft in civilian world. And then they're going to say, well, okay, well, let's put passengers on it. And then at some point, the pilot profession is a very, very, it's like the riverboat captains, right? It's everybody's family. It's, it's four or five families, and that's it.
Yeah. It's coming. I don't know. I don't know the extent, there's is the world going to turn out like Wall-E? Well, or is it going to be like, the intent obviously is force multiplier, like you talked about, but how far do you take it? How much, are the little AI bots going to be literally like, little MiG-29s flying around out there that don't do anything unless you tell them to do, or don't turn? Or is it going to be, are they going to be able to take in tactical information and make decisions?
They're going to have to. I mean, or otherwise you're just going to lose them. They have to.
Well,
make
yeah,
those decisions.
yeah. You're not going to be able to drive them around because one man or woman in an airplane is not going to have the brain bites to handle more than maybe one or two of them like that,
Right.
let alone fly in their own fighter jet and be tactical. So,
Well, they even need to be in a fighter jet, right? If you could have a C-17 or, a Wombat and a Z2 and 6 dudes in the back, or dudettes, generically speaking, that are just controlling the battles. It's just chess pieces on the board. You're taking the man machine out of it. Where it's going to be a big thing is CAS, because you need that connection to the 18-year-old with a rifle and the foxhole that's screaming on the radio.
Yeah, there is. I mean, we've done CAS obviously, and there is definitely. I don't know. I mean, you would have to have a pretty advanced artificial intelligence to, I think, successfully do a real CAS mission. But like we talked about last week, the Navy's tanker, right? That's pretty much entry level AI, and I think in that capacity it will be fine. But when you're talking about tactical stuff, I don't know where the line is going to be drawn, and for sure, man, it's not going to be all doped out like day one when they.
Oh, no, no,
hit the
it'll
go
be
button.
Gradual. I mean, it will be a gradual process, but one day you'll be like, hey, whatever happened to elevator operators? I mean, we do that now, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually it's like, well, hey, didn't we used to have people that operated these things?
Yeah. I really do think the pilot profession is probably going to go away. Not completely, but I think there's a large, people always say like, oh, I want a pilot if there was skin in the game. But sure, dude, for sure. The first time, like, I don't know, Ryanair buys a remote control plane, puts seats in it, and charges $3 a ticket to go somewhere, and it's full.
Dude, people will sit on an airliner that doesn't recline with seats that are this far apart with non-reclining seats for hours just to save. I mean, I personally would prefer not to.
Right.
But yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Pete says Pete's got a good point. Is whatever happened to the flight engineers?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
funny. Like I was in training like last year, and one of the guys teaching, he was an older gentleman, and he's like, this two pilot stuff is nonsense. We used to have voice activated cockpits back when I was flying. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I would say coffee, and it would just appear. He's like, I would say set the thrust at whatever, and it would just get set. Which he was referring to the flight engineer, right?
And the other part to this too is the more it takes, and this is less about aviation and more of a general commentary, but the more the technology takes over, the dumber our civilization becomes.
Yeah,
the idiocracy becoming a reality. I mean, you remove pilots from the equation, you're removing corporate knowledge, and then it becomes engineering knowledge, and then it becomes actual corporate knowledge. Look at the transition of a certain company that has been in the news constantly when they merged and took the engineers out of the equation and put the accountants in charge. Dude, that's a safety thing at some point. Yeah. Then it becomes, what's our dollars and cents? How do we, because a pilot has skin in the game. He's not putting, it's the old adage, about Air Force One, right? Like, how do you deal with flying around in a perfect world? How do you deal with flying around, the leader of the free world, quote unquote? And they said, well, it's easy. If I make it there safely, president's going to make it there safely. I don't care about what's in the back. I care about me getting there. Take that out. Now it's like, I'm sorry, Hal. We can't do that today.
What are you doing?
I'm not starting the APU, and we're not going into the Hudson.
Yeah,
goodbye.
Our current structure, the way we do air travel, I don't think will work with autonomous airplanes. But I'm not too naive to think that structure could be overhauled to where it could work. But I don't want it to happen. I just, like you said, man, there's no more, elevator rides are autonomous now. So
Yeah, and you still get stuck. It sucks.
You just
Bob says Gonky Industries could handle this with humans for half as much. Seriously, have to keep humans behind the trigger.
well, you take the you take the I don't know, you take the humanity if
Mhm.
there is humanity in war, right? And that's the if it's if it's just you're smashing machines out there, the world I think could end up being a pretty violent place, or people could end up being pretty violent with one another.
But the historical arguments of going from spears to knives to guns to machine guns to missiles to bombs, like we always make this argument of you're taking the humanity out, right? Where's the humanity when it's you're sitting in a cockpit at 30,000 feet and you're bombing terra firma?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I
It's
feel
valid.
like these arguments evolve and eventually we'll justify it just to justify it. And, we'll say, well, it should
Yeah,
be.
but yeah, what you're saying is at the end of the day, when you strip it all away, we're just people out there still fighting one another. Yeah. From a Desert Storm 91, like that was the first time war was really televised, like almost live,
Right.
and like the effect that it had on people, it almost desensitized people a little bit. I mean, you could even now, like if I see FLIR footage of like guys getting just obliterated by 20 mic Mike, it doesn't really bother me anymore, because I've been desensitized to it a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you would have showed that footage, 60 years ago to people, they would have been like, "Oh my gosh," So I don't know, man.
Yeah. From the audience, MJ says, would you want to be judged in a court by an AI written by people you don't know with motivations you're not aware of? Humans aren't perfect nor always objective, but taking them out of key decision changes dangerous precedent. I agree with that.
100%.
And Gonky, I sent you what AI thinks you look like, and it was a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, it now.
Hey, what did it say mover look like?
I haven't tried it.
You didn't
I
send
don't
me that
AI
one.
myself. No, I don't. I'm not a vanity AIer.
You should have done it for comparison.
Aaron says, I think a lot of people in the Pentagon need to read John Boyd's biography. Yeah, well, you need a lot of books. Blake says, what about those flights that high winds push them over 800 miles an hour? How would AI react? Well, it's ground speed.
Ground speed,
So
yeah.
AI would do exactly what the FMC does, which is calculate the descent a little bit sooner. Trust me. That is not the airplane's already doing that.
Yeah, the airplanes. I mean, the technology is here today. The airplane can fly itself, land, stop, all that. It's just, in like we're talking about CAS, the real time decision making, the pace, if you will, of what's going on changes. And I don't know if can you write code for that? I don't know, man.
Well, you're paid for the outside of the box thinking, right? You're paid for when things go wrong and being able to problem solve outside of. What humans can do.
So on that note, I was watching a little thing with Elon about AI, and he was saying like the AI technology they have now can like write poetry better than like the greatest poets. I mean, I like it, that level of intelligence. I think we're rapidly going to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that artificial AI could figure it out. It's just hard for me to wrap my brain around it. And at the end of the day, it's still artificial. I still think that there needs to be a living being in that process somewhere.
Somebody with skin in the game. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we
I don't like
well
it
with remote piloted, even if there's no AI and it's just a remote piloting or where it's just a dispatcher that's flying the drone. Like, you take the pilot out of the loop and okay, well, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Good luck, guys.
Yeah. I don't like it, man. I don't like it at all.
All right, moving on. Canada is reinvesting in the CF-18.
I didn't see this one.
Which, Doug, not sure why that's not working.
So they're putting money back into their legacy.
Yeah, so it says Canada's decision to sustain its CF-18. Oh, there it goes.
There it is. I can see it.
Reflected its commitment to modernizing air defense capabilities amid challenges highlighted by a critical report commissioned by the Department of National Defense. They have awarded 211 Canadian, 157.3 million US sustainment contract to support the Royal Canadian Air Force's CF-18 fighter jet is ordered to maintain the fighter's operational readiness until the country's ordered F-35s were delivered. It operates nearly 138. I don't know what nearly means. That's a very specific number to be nearly. So they're going to get avionics weapon system supply parts as needed and provide end-to-end supply chain services. And also the service life extension through the Hornet extension program. I don't know what it's called. We've got to scroll just a little bit down. But service life extension program.
Yeah.
So Gonky, I wanted to talk to you about. Thanks, Doug. That's enough to get us going. So Canada, it was a big thing, maybe because I covered this on the channel. So maybe 3-4 years ago. No, it was more recent than that. Because they were deciding, because everybody used to ask me, like, should we get the Gripen or the F-35? And I remember thinking, well, the Gripen makes more sense.
Right.
Because, Canada's not really, like, what is their mission? What are they doing? And it was Super Hornets, the Gripen, the F-35. They landed on the F-35. So they could have gotten Block 3 Super Hornets. They didn't do that. They landed on the F-35, which is commonality with their U.S. partners, which was cool. But then the F-35s obviously had some issues with production and delays and stuff like that. So now they're in the same boat as everybody else where they've got to bridge that gap. And the Hornet, I think they got some Australian Hornets.
They don't have Super Hornets. They're just
Australian. Like when the Australian Legacy Hornets went away, they got some of those.
Oh, yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got these Hornets, and they've been just trying to keep these alive. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Gonky, the CF-18 is a little bit heavier than the A+, but it's kind of like the C variant, because it's a little bit different than the U.S. Hornet.
Yeah, it's somewhere between an A+ and a C. It has, those guys have a lot of the latest toys.
Yeah.
They're definitely good, really good airplanes.
Right.
But
they're aged. They're aged. Yeah. I mean, they're early 90s. If you're talking the tails, probably. Yeah. So
80s, early 90s. Yeah.
In hindsight, do you look at that decision and go, well, you should have bought the Gripen, or in hindsight, you should have gotten Super Hornets? I think, for a country like Canada, which I'm not here to make decisions for another country's defense.
We're in the ready room talking, man. You can tell me anything.
A Gripen or a Super Hornet made more sense than a 5th-gen fighter for Canada.
100%, in my opinion, Canada should have bought Super Hornet. So we had one of my good buddies was the exchange pilot, and we hang out all the time. Good dude, great dude. And he would tell me about the flying the Canadians. He told me if you punch out up in some of these territories where they patrol, like, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like the helicopter is going to take. Yeah, literally, it's called Cold Lake, right?
Yeah. It's right in the name.
Sure, the F-35 engine is great. I got it. But you know what? A multi-engine airplane for a country that has such like a tremendous amount of hostile terrain, to me, just makes sense. I would. I don't know. I think
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like a Block 3 Super Hornet, you combine it with, the extra fuel that it carries over the Legacy jet and even the traditional Hornet. You've got a lot of the electronic upgrades that keep it relevant. I just think that it's tough when plus the commonality. I mean, you have 30 plus years of corporate knowledge on the Legacy Hornet. A lot of it transfers over. And I was surprised actually when they went Joint Strike Fighter, to be honest, F-35. I was surprised. I didn't think they would go to a single engine airplane based on like the things that I was told.
So, I mean, it makes sense, right? In some ways. What made me think of it wasn't when they were doing the decision, wasn't the two little boys talking about the F-35 and the Super Hornet? Wasn't that part of wasn't that a commercial that they were using to try to sell the Super Hornet over the F-35? Because the kid's like, it's invisible. And
for sure.
Wasn't that part of when they were making that argument?
Yeah, it's been several years, but clearly there was a lot of politics going on.
Well, what I was going to say is the reason I think in some ways it makes sense, even though I don't think Canada day one of the war is going to need a 5th gen fighter. That's not how they have operated. I mean, they're one of our strongest allies. They're going to be there, but do we need, we've argued this before on this channel about, do we need all 5th gen or do we need the workhorse Block 3 Super Hornet kind of stuff? But I understand their argument of don't call them a small country for the love of God. But
he did. Canada, he just called you a small country. I don't agree.
They're gonna politely. See, it won't be like Turkey, They will politely hate us in the comments. But what I'm getting at is, in that scenario, you may not need it, but I can understand hey, we're gonna do one upgrade. What are we gonna do? Okay, well, let's get the latest and greatest. That's plug and play with our allied partners, and they're, the cost goes down because we're buying into it. This other country's buying into it, and it will. It's like when you buy the latest and greatest computer, right? You try to future-proof it by buying the highest end, even though that might not necessarily be what you need. Versus what they actually needed was, okay, we just need our CF-18s are getting old. What are we going to replace them with? Block 3 Super Hornets. There you go.
Well, somewhere in the middle, they could have done, and comparable in size, really, they could have done what the Australians did, which I think was a great idea. The Aussies bought a small batch of Rhinos, bought a small batch of Growlers, and then they bought F-35s. I mean, they could, they leveraged their corporate knowledge. They could see kind of the writing on the wall with the F-35, kind of what was happening there, which is actually sort of kind of what the Navy did as well. But I mean, I don't know, man. I just, if I was a Canadian fighter pilot, I would prefer a multi-engine jet flying, the way that they fly. But to me, it makes sense that we better keep some of these older Hornets around, because I mean, they're still relevant. The whole talk of, 4th gen fighters aren't relevant in a modern battlefield, in my opinion, is only valid at the very, very beginning.
Even that, I mean, look at Ukraine.
Right.
Look at Ukraine. Look at the lessons we've learned.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. I mean, I've always said, if it has an offensive capability, it's dangerous. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. Airspace saturation, electronic attack, all the, surface to air missiles, SEAD, everything. Yeah. It's going to be like, I think we're learning a lot about modern warfare in the current conflict, and drones.
Yeah. Well, everything you talked about, all the Trons in the air, guess what? You're going to merge. You better have a gun. Or the gun pod. Yes.
Yeah. And rounds.
Yeah.
All right.
More than,
more than 150.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that what you got, Doug?
Yeah.
That is correct.
We've in the time we've been doing this show, the F-22 has gone from rolling retirement to the Air Force's top priority.
Right.
So basically, if you go down to the article there, Doug, they obviously have only 183, and they were talking about cutting 32 of the early model
the older
F-22s, the old Raptors, the older block. But now they're talking about upgrading, and this is wildly speculative, right? This is not. There's nothing right now. I think the only thing is in FY25 they're actually going to retire some of the Raptors. But now Congress is kind of intervening in some of the programs and acquisitions in the Air Force, and they're basically saying, well, could we upgrade these things? So, I mean, they're 20-year-old airplanes, though. And that's the thing that was surprising to me is, or there will be 20-year-old airplanes. I mean, so, 2006, 2009, does it say when they finally stopped producing them? It says the older ones were in the late 90s and early 2000s, but I don't know if it says exactly how, but it doesn't matter. Really and truly, that's an airframe that you want to keep going, because until you have the NGAD fighter, what do you have?
Well, to me, man, it's incredible. You got 50-year-old F-15s.
Yeah.
And I've, this is actually when this article came out, it's the first time I've ever heard of them kind of, like you said, speculative, reversing course on the whole, what equipment they're going to have for future air dominance. In my mind, and I think you'd agree with me, the F-22 is clearly by far the best air dominance fighter in the world. Why would you want to get rid of it? And I understand the older ones needed upgrading, and because if you remember the students flying them in the B course, like one of their complaints was when they go operational, it's kind of like going to a whole nother airplane, right? Because they were different. But if you can continuously update an F-16, an F-18, if you can go take the F-15C and make it the EX, like, I don't understand why you can't keep the F-22 relevant, especially it's such a purebred airplane for like is designed for a specific mission and does it incredibly well. And they spent a lot of money making that happen. I don't understand why you would want to get rid of that, because really you don't have anything to replace it with. And the whole NGAD thing. Yeah. But realistically,
we've seen this. We've watched this one before. Yeah. We know how it ends. Yeah.
It ends. NGAD's not going to be around until we're really old men, right? So, like you said, Mover, 20 years.
It's not even 20 years. So the last one's rolled off the line in 2011 ish, right? So I mean that's
So by modern standards, 20 years is not a long time for an airframe.
There's the argument of should modern standards be 20 years? You know what I'm saying? Like we've talked about this before too, is 20 years is too long.
Well, it could be too long, but then you ask yourself the question, okay, what else is better?
Yeah. Well, and it's, I was internally arguing this, as I was thinking about it, because I'm like, well, they're not building them right. So parts are a problem. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. When's the last time they built a B-52? When's the last time they built an A-10? Now, granted, we're getting rid of the A-10, but the B-52 is going to be here long after we're both dead. And not because we're all happy. Right. We're all happy. We're talking old age.
I'm real happy.
It'll be flying in the 2100s.
Right.
But what I'm saying is you can, especially in the world of 3D printing and, other manufacturing processes and stuff, we can make parts, or we can find parts and upgrade parts. So I think you're right if we spend the money to do it. And what's interesting, have you ever heard of the test center out at Tucson for the Guard?
Mm-mm.
So this was kind of cool. I think you should give the F-22 to the Guard. And here's why. The common case study on this, right? So the F-16 predominantly on the Guard Reserve was a block 30, which and the active duty was flying block 40s and 50s. And the time to do an upgrade for the active duty on the block 40 and 50, because they had to go through standard supply chains and standard contracting and stuff like that, took far longer than the Guard Reserve that went to the test center at Tucson, and they would contract out using Ingria money or other reserve specific Guard specific money, and they would upgrade the jets. They would call it the SCU, and you could get a new SCU software update pushed faster than the active duty can. Now, I think there's a lot more parity now than it used to be. I mean, we're talking 15 years ago. I'm talking about. But my point is, in some ways, it's better to hand these jets off and say, well, if we don't want them anymore, we'll give them to the Guard, because we do have a problem in the Guard right now, because a lot of Eagle squadrons are starting to go, well, what's next? And they haven't officially said EX or F-35 or whatever. So there's a kind of, in fact, they just turned one of them into a cyber unit, which is like, they went A-10s to cyber. But what I'm saying is you give them to the Guard where they have a little bit more flexibility to keep updating and upgrading these jets if the active duty doesn't want to spend the money on them and they want to start transitioning towards the next fighter. It's a perfect scenario for that. But I agree with you, from a national defense side of things, you want those to remain in your inventory whether they're frontline or somewhere, because that technology is still going to be relevant. And that jet was so far ahead of its. I mean, dude, that thing is still
it's incredible,
cutting edge today and can
Yeah.
still be upgraded.
I think the big problem is they only made 183 of them. I mean, at some point, you know, at some point you're going to start cannibalizing stuff, right? And what was it? They were supposed to build 700 plus of them, right? They were supposed to replace all the Eagles with them, right? So I mean, if they would have done that, no chance they're going to retire them. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't see why you'd retire your best horse when I think I'd argue it's in the air-to-air game. It's probably in its prime.
I'm in my prime. All right, moving on. We got any questions? Nope. Okay. And Gonky, say it.
Oh, I can't. I don't want to make anybody mad. I'm not.
Azerbaijan, right?
I think that's good.
Azerbaijan.
Russian, I can say that one.
A traditional Russian ally snubbed Moscow's latest fighter jets for competitors from Pakistan and Turkey. Their biggest arms supplier was always Russia, and the rumored deal suggests that the ally is attaching from their Russian counterparts. The Su-57 has severe shortcomings.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
it's a small, oil-rich South Caucasus country, has big plans to upgrade its modern fleets, and they're looking at Pakistan to buy an undisclosed number of the JF-17C Thunder, but they also officially joined, this is near and dear to your heart, Gonky, Turkey's TF Khan 5th Gen fighter program last July, strongly suggesting it will acquire the jet. Khan made its maiden flight. We've talked about it on this channel. So they've got a buyer. And yeah. Gonky, what do you think, man? So you've got a country that traditionally buys Russian tech, and now they're like, you know what? We're going to go a different direction.
I think it's normal, man. I'm sure there's information that we're not privy to as to exactly why that happened. I think it's good for, the development of the Khan, because it's expensive to produce any fighter, let alone a 5th gen fighter, and to have outside support really helps. We do it in the States all the time. We got the EP engine in the Hornet because the Kuwaitis, they funded it, and then we took advantage of it. So I don't see it as anything bad. Maybe they looked at their mission and what was available and determined, hey, you know what? These airplanes over here fit the mission better. I don't know. That's if I was a betting man, I'd say there's some politics and money involved. But
oh, don't say politics, Gonky. People get triggered about that.
I can't say that. What can I say? Political money, maybe. Is that bad?
Well, I mean, it's like
laundering.
Else,
is that
right?
bad?
All these aircraft deals come with stipulations. You've got a country with some money, and hey, buy this, we'll cut you a deal here. Be an initial partner, we'll cut you a deal here. I mean, this is all par for the course. I mean, that's how the F-35 had that with its partner nations, where you say you buy in at the beginning, we'll produce parts here, we'll produce parts there. I mean, that's a very common thing. What's interesting to me is that they kind of went two directions, right? They went fourth-ish, 4.5-ish gen with the JF-17. And then, so they're like, we need our workhorse. And then we're going to, dare I say, take a chance on the Khan, not because I think they're not capable of creating the aircraft, but I think it's their first attempt. So it's an IPO. It's the initial, hey, we're doing this, and we've never proven that we can build a 5th gen fighter before, and to take that leap while scoffing Moscow, it is a big leap.
Well, the Khan is at its very early stages of development.
Oh yeah, flight test. Yeah. Early flight test.
Yeah. The other airplanes have been flying for a while. So again, man, I think it kind of goes back to what kind of mission are they trying to fill? And then, the other side of it is, It could have been just their experience in the past buying Russian stuff. I know. So like when I was in Malaysia flying with the RMAF guys told me, they said, listen, if we buy the Super Hornet, we know, because when we bought the regular Hornet and like even when they bought the Hawk, and when they buy Western equipment, it can land here straight from the factory. We can put bombs and gas in it and go on a mission. And that was not the experience they had with the MiG-29 and the Su-30, is what they told me. But, you know, politics are involved and you get what you get. You know, these were operators. These were, you know, just other fighter pilots like me and you talking, and that's what they told me. So who knows, man? They may have had a bad experience with Russian equipment.
Well, and also we don't live in a vacuum. Russia is currently in a war.
That's true.
And their production is towards their war effort. You know, I mean, they could have told them, hey, yeah, sure. They could have gone to Russia first and said, hey, we want Su-57. Oh,
right. Yeah, they're like, so do we.
Yeah, we would love
So
that. You know, we just lost another Su-34. We're down, you know, we're running low on airplanes ourselves. We're building them for our current war effort. Not that I think that they're not running low on airplanes, but what I'm saying is when they look at the picture and they go, when can you produce this? Now the con might be a little bit farther off, but the JF-17,
yeah, it's ready.
There you go.
But problem, you know, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know, that to get involved with the con, though, you know, any kind of joint effort like that, you know, maybe in the future they could produce their own airplane, right? That's the goal, right? So you get to learn, right? So be part of the process on something that's just starting. So like I said, man, it really depends what's their objective and what airplane best fits that objective, with a little bit of politics sprinkled in there.
Yeah. Moving on to another developer topic.
Yeah,
Gonky, did you know? Yeah.
This is speculation, dude.
Yeah, this is, I mean, so
yeah, it says, the article says they could still, you know.
Yeah, and so they're basically saying, and this is a new term that I saw in this article. So it says Boeing could build the NGAD, Next Generation Air Dominance Project, Air Defense, sorry, from the Air Force. And then it says they plan to develop a 6th-gen fighter jet, the penetrating counter-air, alongside unmanned system, the collaborative combat aircraft. Because we just talked about the fact that they already have their CCA. They're the only ones that actually have something that can go 2,000 miles and stuff like that. But it says Boeing's recent struggles, including the 730 MAX crisis and other safety incidents, have tarnished its reputation. It ain't just the MAX. Literally everything that we've talked about that involves Boeing and production, except the Super Hornet. Super Hornet's doing okay, but the T-7, the MH-139, you know, they haven't been doing great. But you're right. This is pure speculation because, I mean, dude, you're not going to see the testing behind the scenes.
Yeah, the whole, you know, that line there where it's like, with the program will feature a fighter jet, the PCA, and a complementary unmanned system known as the CCA. I mean, clearly, mover, like, we are of the old guard. There's a mentality, tactical shift going on with 6th gen in my mind.
They had to rename it.
You
they
think
couldn't
so?
call it offensive counter air because, well, you know, that's the way we used to call it.
It's not air to ground, it's air to surface. That's
Here's
right.
my patch. It's
right.
Penetration counter air.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, that's because you're 5th gen, right? You're invisible. So you have to, or 6th gen, you have to be invisible to penetrate the air defenses.
Well,
and then do counter air.
Well, the definition of 5th gen is pretty loose. So what is the definition of 6th gen?
One more than 5th gen.
One is it the fact that we just built this one here more recently, so it's the next gen? I don't know, man. It's
Well, it says it right here. advanced digital capabilities, human systems integration, which don't all jets have human systems integration?
It's like the first one.
Variable cycle engine, so like a two-stroke. And then now it's gone because every time I read, Doug says nope.
It's very difficult with the time delay. What would you like to read?
Every time whatever I was reading, it was fine. I was enjoying the reading.
I'm not on the same page you are.
Mover was just defining 6th gen, which a lot of it sounded like
defining 6th gen for Gonky.
But
human integration.
But it's nonsense.
Well, and now it's gone. We'll never see it again.
Well, I come full circle back to, okay, the NGAD, which is supposed to be the next air dominance fighter. Like, why would you retire your current air dominance fighter when clearly this thing is years, if not decade away?
Money.
Well, yeah, that's true. See, politics and money, my friend. Must be bedtime.
Money. Yeah. 9 o'clock.
I don't know, man. In my mind, they haven't, they haven't quite cracked the nut on the 5th gen stuff yet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. That's enough of that. Gonky, do we have a mental health minute?
We don't.
We're supposed to ask the audience.
Yeah.
I got one.
We're too busy talking.
No, dude, here's the mental health minute for this week.
Wait a minute. You had one, didn't you?
I don't.
The whole time.
I just thought about it. You know what it's going to be?
I'm all ears.
She's just got her. Here's the thing. Adopt, don't shop. That's it. The life you save may be your own. When you rescue a dog, sometimes you end up rescuing yourself. You're a cat too. I mean, I know there's cat people that watch the channel, but any animal, it's kind of an act of selflessness, if you will, in the sense that, or just going after the thing that is not perfect. Not striving for perfection. Because right, some people go to breeders and they're like, I have to have the perfect dog. That's pedigree, all that stuff, and that's all. I want a puppy. Oh, look, we even have the thing. But I want this puppy, and I have to have the perfect thing. But sometimes in life, you will run across an opportunity, and you'll be like, okay, well, I'm not really sure. And then it becomes the most perfect thing. And at the end, you're like, I don't know how I live without it. And I've got 3 examples of that. One, my first rescue dog, Sniper. That dog, I didn't know, the first probably, 6 months, a year with him, because we had other dogs, and I mean, I was okay. But by the time, he passed, he was 14 years old. He rescued me. He got me through times of my life that I never thought were possible. And it was just because it was the pure love of a dog. But what it taught me was, after you're like, if I could have cloned him, if I could have, exactly had that one dog, I would have, because you want that perfect dog. But then I got Kaiser, and he gave me 12 years, with him concurrently. And he was also the best dog, a mix of everything. And then this one comes along, and I tried to bring her back. I tried to bring her back to the shelter. I was fostering her. She was a trash bag dog. They found her entire litter in a dumpster behind a gas station, a convenience store. And I tried to bring her back, and she whined and cried. And I talked to the rescue on the way. I was literally driving over there, and they said, hey, it's only been a couple days. Why don't you keep her? And it's been one of the best decisions of my life, because the good that we have done together, she's a therapy dog. She's she's a deputy. She's a canine. But does she look like a police dog? No. Would I clone her now? Do I look at this and go, would I clone this dog now? Absolutely. Because, you want that perfect mix, but the perfect mix is the imperfection. The perfect mix is that special quality of a dog or an animal, a soul that is 100% unique and has its own characteristics, that was like a new adventure. And I think the lesson in that is, if you go through life trying to find that perfection, you miss out on the opportunities and the perfection in the imperfection. The fact that the experience is what matters, and not necessarily that one solid ideal path that you thought, it had to be, but then you missed out on something cool like this. But a little bit ad-libbed, but I don't know. Gonky, what do you think?
No, I agree. I have a dog too that saved me, and my wife tells me all the time. She's like, that dog, Oliver. When I was in Lemoore, he's 14 now. This little black puppy ran into my garage one day, and I fed him. And for about 2 weeks, I tried as hard as I could to get rid of him. And my wife, she won that battle, so we kept him. But like you said, we didn't have kids for a long time. We had a hard time having kids. And I mean, Mover, you said a lot of really good stuff. For me, kind of what having Oliver, it makes you selfless, right? So it's not all about me anymore. You got to take care of this little guy, but actually he's taking care of you, because guess what? If you're self-absorbed all the time, that can take you down some pretty bad places, right? So, I think that's pretty common with people who I consider we rescued Oliver, because he literally ran into my garage one day, and the vet had told us that, hey, this was in 2010, right? So the economy wasn't doing so hot. And she said, we're seeing a lot of people with a litter of puppies that can't afford them. They'll drive to a neighborhood that looks decent, dump them all, and then just hope that, those families take them. So, but that was the biggest thing with me. I'd never had any pets growing up, and all I had to do is take care of myself, me, right? And I don't even think my wife and I we weren't married yet, because Oliver helped me propose to my wife. So it really gave me a lesson in, it's not all about me, because, I had to take care of him. He was just a little puppy when we got him. And, the little dog, he's a bit of a legend. He has a puppy passport. He flew, he only flies business class international. He flew in the airplane.
Will you adopt me?
He flew in the airplane with us on Lufthansa all the way to Malaysia, business class all the way back. Just a great dog, man. And like you said, you can't, and I have kids now, and, both my two kids are completely different, special in their own ways. And, I think dogs are the same way. Like Oliver, definitely, you could clone him, but I'm not sure he'd be the same dog. You know what I'm saying? Like his spirit and personality, and it's just awesome, because it helped pull me out of my self-absorbed fighter pilot way of living. Yeah.
Doug? God, man.
I like dogs. I like cats too.
Delete.
We've got a cat that just showed up one day. My wife actually mistook him for one of our cats and couldn't figure out what he was doing in the yard, and brought him inside. So now he belongs.
Doug, does your cat kill things around the house and bring them to you as like a, hey?
You'd be surprised.
You're welcome.
They're both inside cats, but we live in the out in the sticks. A surprising amount of stuff gets in that they take care of. We don't find out about it until after they're done.
Awesome.
Well, Doug, you and I have talked about this offline, about the psychology of the coevolution.
Oh yeah, dogs especially.
We've co-evolved with them, and in some ways we need them. We've learned as humans to take care of them.
I don't know how much academic merit it has, but there's an argument that we would not have evolved past a certain point if it wasn't for dogs, that we wouldn't have been able to domesticate other animals. And if it wasn't for domesticating other animals, we wouldn't have been able to have farms. I haven't read deeply on that one, but it's an appealing set of ideas.
Well, anyway, so that's,
yeah, I like it, man. Adopt, don't shop.
But I won't say don't get a purebred dog. Purebred dogs are awesome. All dogs are awesome.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're like, hey, number one, know that it's a 10 to 15 year commitment. There she goes. She's going to bed without me now. She's like, you know what? You've had your fun. It's a commitment. right? It's not something you take lightly. I mean, you'll miss out on some opportunities. Now, is that really a loss? Sometimes. But it is a commitment. But what I'm saying is shelters are overcrowded. And for me, I think there is no greater, now it's arguable, you know, people say, well, dogs don't understand. I think they do. And I think a dog deep down in its soul, when you rescue them, they know it, they appreciate it, and they will be your companion through the worst parts, because what they teach you is true love. They teach you a judgment-free, you know, just it's pure. It's not, you know, there's no strings attached. There's nothing like that. It is just
unconditional.
They will return whatever you give them tenfold. So as long as you give them that unconditional love, actually, even if you don't, they're going to love you unconditionally as well, because, you know, that is how they've been bred. That is just together. And, you know, I think they're angels on earth. So, that's just my 2 cents.
I mean, there's no denying, you know, obviously the stuff you do with Luna, right? I mean, it you know, dogs can really help, like even in mental health, right? I mean, there's entire veteran dog training programs, right? Where veterans who are suffering from PTSD, they get
Canines for Warriors. Yeah, that's the one. That's the
they get a, you know, and that's, I mean, that's awesome, you know, and it's yeah.
John says great mental health mover. What are we talking about? Mental health minute. Mover's health.
Movers Health Minute.
Movers
Tonight
Health
it's
Minute.
Movers Health Minute.
Zippers, thanks, John. Zippers Forever says Rinka is a rescue and we have an incredible life. Hell yeah.
That's a nice looking dog.
Midnight Lee says your animals are a direct reflection of you, no matter the species. I don't know that. I think I try to be the man my dog already thinks I am. You know, I don't know that I can live up to that standard, but I try.
Yeah.
Lou says almost all of the mini dogs we have had, either as keepers or finding them homes, have been rescues. While we have had a few that didn't work out well, most have been delightful additions to our home. Just realize, I mean, there's an adjustment period anytime you adopt a dog, and I think people don't have. One of the things it teaches you is patience.
Yes.
You know, I think one of the biggest lessons in patience I had was at the end. Last year was tough. Losing those boys, especially after 12, 14 years, was just tough. But the hardest part was saying goodbye, and that end time of knowing that the end was coming. Sniper especially, well, not especially, both of them were pretty bad, but Sniper had beaten cancer, or we thought, and then it came back. And losing him happened about the same time that I was getting booted from my last squadron. And I missed my last weekend with him to go be at that last squadron for the last time. And it was a tough time because you saw it coming, and dogs age so much faster than you. But the patience that it teaches you, because they don't know, they're hurting, they're going through stuff, and you have to be able to take a step back and go, well, it's not, the dog's not doing this. So it kind of teaches you that patience, especially, and Kaiser, I think, was even worse because he had a degenerative spine disease, so where he got to where he couldn't walk, and he was, you know, pooping on himself, peeing on himself, and that's where it got to the point where, you know, he had no more quality of life, and he was just in pain all the time. And as you know, when it first starts to happen, just like elderly humans or kids or whatever, you get a little frustrated because you're like, hey, how come you're not performing like you used to? How come you can't do it? And how come, you know, you're in pain, you're snapping or whatever? But it teaches you that patience. So even though it's a very hard experience, it's still, you know, you have something to learn from it, and it still makes you a better human. Empathy.
Yep.
So John says, I fought tooth and nail with my wife and daughter to not adopt a black lab named Holly. She's now my best friend. I can't imagine life without her.
I know how you feel, John. I'd say
it works. Rose says, completely agree about rescues. My cats have been rescued at different times, and it feels like each came into my life at the perfect time. MJ says, absolutely mover. Always had rescue cats. Our last boys' brothers were left with their litter, locked in an abandoned car at 2 weeks old. They gave us 28 years of love, and we paid our active adoption $1,000. 28 years.
Wow. I didn't know cats live that long. Wow. Thanks, man.
Kate says, mover, the mental health minute topic our hearts need going to do. Yeah. And people have asked me why I have not adopted again. And it's because of the work we're doing right now. With Luna being a working dog, essentially, I don't feel like it's fair to leave another dog at home. And I don't want to leave Luna at home because that defeats the purpose of all the training and stuff that we've done. It might change eventually, but for right now, the wounds are still kind of fresh. And I feel like just focusing on her training, focusing on her mission to help people and to bring joy to people's lives is more important than having a dog. Don't think I haven't thought about it. I've constantly, things are popping up in my feed of rescue dogs that need a home. And I'm like, and it just hasn't quite been there yet. And Pete says, be the person your dog thinks you are, or be the dog your person thinks you are. Right? No. Okay. What do you think, Gonky?
Yeah. What
we got to talk about this.
What?
Yeah, we got to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, real quick.
So we've got 2 more weeks of DCS before Gonky needs to go back to.
Oh my gosh, that's right. You get back
another
into
5-hour. Yeah, he needs to step to his.
My neck already hurts.
Yeah, but this week, so we didn't have enough for individual videos because it's just one set each.
Yeah,
but we did Tomcat with Gonky and the Tomcat versus me in a MiG-29, and then we did Hornet, and then we did
Su-27,
a Su-27. And I don't want to ruin it too much, but it is funny.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be funnier on your channel because
it's all a good time, man.
Mr. What's My Speed?
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was having a little too much fun with that.
For my subscribers, you will get the extended version with Gonky yelling, "What's my speed?" and Jester actually responding. I don't know how you timed it every time. You had no idea.
I thought it was actually responding to my voice.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how superstitious behavior develops.
It wasn't. I thought it was responding to me
because it did it like 2 or 3 times. Gonky got conditioned by the AI.
This is news to me.
Yeah, the AI is smarter than Gonky.
Dude. Hey,
What's
but you know what?
Oh, dude, we've got a voice message. Man, we're gonna be here late. Okay, listen.
All right, hit it, man.
All right.
Hi, Mover, Gonky, Doug, and today's guests. Love the show. I've been listening to it for a long time now. I'm a current student from the Netherlands. Next year I'll be starting a master's degree in aerospace engineering, hopefully in the direction of propulsion and flight performance and dynamics. I've always wanted to become a fighter pilot since I was a very small kid. However, recently the Dutch Air Force has told me no to becoming an officer in the Dutch Air Force, therefore ending my dream to become a fighter pilot. Do you think it's still feasible for me to become a test pilot for jet fighters for companies such as Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Saab, Airbus, etc., with my master's degree without having experience in the armed forces or having been a fighter pilot? Thanks.
I don't know about Saab, but I think the others are possible because you can go to the National Test Pilot School and you can be a test pilot. I mean, there's the guy on YouTube that is a test pilot.
Yeah, so you could
Seguin. Yeah, I think anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you can do anything's possible. Generally speaking, if you at least don't go to test pilot school, you have to do that. And you have an engineering background, which you're getting. Those are kind of the 2 big ticket items. If you're going to go be a test pilot for fast jets, I would be very surprised if they would take somebody that didn't have fast jet experience from the military. Yeah. Just because it's more of, you just can't, I hate the term, but you can't buy that experience. But it's not to say I don't think you could maybe be a test pilot for transport category, but I could be wrong there. I mean, I got a buddy that's a test pilot at Airbus, and he was a Navy guy. He flew the TACAMO, went to test pilot school, and he's doing that. But who knows, man?
He's not a fighter guy. He's not a fighter test guy. So he went to civilian test pilot school.
No, he went to Navy test pilot school, but
okay.
he was a TACAMO. He flew the it's like the Navy's 707, the big jet.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Who's to say? Your timeline. I mean, that's years in the future.
I think Saab's going to be tough because, they're already,
Well, the real problem is, when you put your app in, it's going to be with other apps, most likely. And they're just going to try, they should be like, okay, who has the most experience, best fit for this job? They're going to pick those. And, if you have, if you're looking to, be a Gripen test pilot and you show up with an engineering master's and 5,000 hours in fast jets and whatever, I mean, it's hard to beat that.
Without 5,000 hours in the Gripen. I mean, Saab
yeah.
is going to be specific. I can't imagine Saab's going to be, unless it'd be very rare for them to go outside of their own country, right? For that. So that would be a tough one. For Lockheed and Boeing, I think it just depends.
Yeah.
There is the National Test Pilot School, though. So it is a civilian. There is the option to go as a civilian. So I'm not going to say no. I'm just going to say make them tell you no.
Make them tell you no, yeah. And hey, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of engineers on test programs, not flying, doing cool stuff, right? So
SpaceX, man, go to space.
And sometimes, right, Mover, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, they got engineers on board the flight, right? Monitoring data, all kinds of stuff on the bigger airplanes.
Test engineers,
right.
Flight test engineers. Yeah.
Good luck to you, though, man. I mean, like Mover said, make them tell you no.
Yeah. Well, just like I did this morning, or the beginning of the show, it's Monday, dude.
Mondays roll up quick.
Mondays, you're killing me, man.
My wife woke up this morning. She's like, "Oh my God, it's Monday again, isn't it?" I'm like, "That's right, baby."
Yeah.
Monday
it was a busy
plus
weekend,
daylight
dude.
savings time jet lag.
Oh, that's it, Doug. Daylight savings time. That's why.
RPIO corrected everybody. It's saving time. There's no
S. Daylight saving time.
Daylight saving time.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true, but that sounds true to me. It's like aircrafts. Can't say the S.
You know what? It's move the clock time. How about that?
Mover ruins clocks.
Yeah, that made it. Doug, you're right, man. That made Sunday painful because I got up at 4 and I looked at the clock. I'm like, why does it say 3?
3. Oh, because
I was looking at the clock on the wall.
You don't have automatic clocks in your house, Gonky?
My phone auto.
Of course you don't have automatic clocks. Who am I talking about?
Everything else is manual, so I had to go around the house and adjust all the clocks.
Well, whatever it is, I made it the rest of the episode without an issue.
You did.
So
you were, late.
If you had just waited 3 minutes, no one would ever have known. Thanks for throwing me under the bus, Gonky.
Dude, as a command decision, somebody had to take control. You can't just let this thing fly itself. Me and Doug had it. We had it.
Yeah, you didn't. I'm gonna have to go back and watch. It's probably just 6 to 9 minutes of you cyberbullying me. I'm gonna file a complaint against you, dude.
Maybe, possibly.
Ultimately, we had about 18 seconds of stream without you.
Yeah.
What were y'all doing?
Forgetting to push the button.
We were doing the intro, man.
We sat and watched the intro together.
We did sit and watch the intro together. That's true.
I can't wait. All right. Well,
it is what it is, man.
Watching, listening, being a part of our show. We'll see you next week, and I guarantee it won't be any better.
See ya.
See ya.